Today is April 14th, 2018, also known as Plant City's yearly Railfest. This happens once a year at the beginning of the month of April. On this day, in downtown Plant City, they bring out many commodities for people to come down and watch the trains. The first catch of Railfest was Q44214, a daily freight out of Tampa to Waycross, Georgia. This guy always carries freight blocks and then a long string of auto racks on the rear. However, due to this guy being 13,000 plus feet, I'm going to skip to the end of this train. Looks like now is the time to service Tampa's yard switcher, number 8244 in Waycross again. Next up came at Plant City. It was 073914. This guy went south across the Plant City Diamond earlier in the morning, and now, after finishing his work in Tampa, he is now heading back north to Winston Yard, engines light. Next up came 070914, led by CSXT 2513. After finishing his work at an industry at Market, Florida, he is now heading to Plant City to take the Plant City sub over south to switch a paper mill before coming back up the Plant City sub later today. Leading the next train, Q452, was CSXT 9031. I've seen this locomotive many times before, but here he was leading Q452, which was for some reason rerouted through Plant City again today. Lots of rail fans who come to the Plant City Railfest this year. This was probably one of the most thriving Railfests they've had in a while. And this is only at Reynolds Street. Just look at all the people over there near the depot watching the train. This isn't counting the probably 30 or 40 more inside or outside of the depot. Here you can see an old auto rack still bearing the name of the Grand Trunk Western Railroad.
Number 98460, A32614, it's a CFX D4006.
Next up came 0709, coming back up the Plant City sub after finishing his work at the paper mill. After waiting for 0709 to clear the Plant City interlocking, PO 9113 comes down the hill from Lakeland. After PO 91, we headed over to Winston Yard near Lakeland, and we drove through the yard to see some sort of molten sulfur train sitting on the BV main with all BNSF power. I don't know how strict Winston is about cameras in their yard, so I am only going to provide a picture of the BNSF power and nothing else. There was nothing at Lakeland, so we drifted back to Plant City, and enough time to catch PO 91 heading out of Tampa toward Miami. On its way to Lakeland, then Miami. With no action at Plant City, we drifted toward Vitus Junction to see what we could find. We stopped in at Lumberton, south end of the Vitus double track on the Vitus subdivision, to find a high green northbound signal. We don't know who this was for yet, but we sat and waited. We left Lumberton and drifted up to Vitus Junction, and as soon as we got there, we heard K88913 called distant to Vitus, so we set up our cameras and waited. For all you other rail fans out there, yes, K889 was that empty sulfur train that we saw sitting in Winston earlier today, and here he was at Vitus Junction, triple BNSF. After catching K889 at Vitus Junction, we drifted back toward Kathleen because Joshua Kentner informed me that Q604 had a Norfolk Southern -9 in trail. From Vitus, we had to take a bunch of country back streets to make it to Kathleen, and we just barely made it. As soon as we got there, he was the next crossing down. We just made it.
Q604, 14 engine, 3008, got a clear Kathleen, northbound.
as we were drifting back toward Plant City for the evening, we got another surprise. QO4614 called a signal just south of Plant City at North End Cherry Siding. So we pulled into my now famous Cookie Cutter Street and waited. Sure enough, within 5 minutes, here he was, QO46 with a long string of juice. After catching QO46, we drifted back to Plant City, just barely catching PO92 heading out of Tampa toward New York City. Locomotive number 180. The last catch for Railfest 2018 was Q44114 at 8 o'clock p.m. The southbound run of Manifest Freight from Waycross to Tampa. And with 441 clearing the Plant City interlocking, that would end the Railfanning day for Plant City's Railfest in 2018. So, with that being said, in Plant City, Florida, at the mileposts S823 and A861.1, this is Cotabiner, out. Also, thanks to all the volunteers at the Plant City, Florida's historic Robert W. Williford Railroad Museum, I earned this at the Railfest today. See you in the next video, everybody.